Yeah, this is gonna be a different type of video, kinda, because I've noticed as far as this week, it's been a violent week in hip hop, especially on my channel. Like all the past 5 videos, from the Titanic to Nicki Minaj paying a kid for clapping somebody, like she put a hit out, and Jim Jones threatening Pusha T. Like it's everything is just violence and death, and I don't really like that. So we gonna go completely away from all of that to something where there's not even no like animosity. It's just it is what it is. And we gonna talk about fashion a little bit, and this is gonna be basically some, I don't know what to call it, like a speech, a rant, mini podcast, whatever it's gonna be, commentary on what happened to prominent black brands and like just the dominance that they had and how come they're all played out and shit like that. Just my thoughts on that. So we're gonna get right into it. I'm not gonna waste no time. When you look at the premise of everything, we gonna cut out the 70s, because you know how they was dressing in the 70s, bell bottoms and suits. We're gonna go straight to the 80s and 90s. The premise before black brands started making urban clothing, as far as like hip hop based clothing and stuff like that, we rock with, as far as black people mostly, or people who are part of hip hop culture, we rock clothes that are manufactured for everybody, white people, whatever, and we freak them in different ways. So like Jordache jeans, motherfucking Gap, all those types of brands, like Bugle Boy, whatever it was, like we get the shit, we freak it, we put our looks together and stuff like that. We might wear the jeans way bigger than the other people and stuff like that, all of that. So that's the premise of what was going on before then. You do have the Dapper Dan era, where he was like stitching the Gucci's together and stuff like that, the modified Gucci and everything, so you have that. So just to lay down the premise, before we got our own shit, what we were doing was freaking other brands the white people own in different ways than the white people wear 'em. That's just what it is. So we get past that. We then get into the 90s. You got Karl Kani. Fubu comes in probably mid to late 90s. You got Echo. You got a lot of stuff. These are like the 90s brands and stuff like that, when they first started like getting jiggy and stuff like that. This was around the time, Chuck D and them was out. So you would get a lot of support from the black people, because there was just like, we understood what it was. It was, we were more segregated back then than we are now. Even though it was, segregation was over in like, the fucking 70s and shit. The late 60s or whatever. But we understood we was trying to make it out. So somebody like Tupac, I'm pretty sure it was Karl Kani. Karl Kani really tried to get Tupac to wear his clothes and shit. And Tupac, he was like, man, how much am I going to have to pay you? He was like, you a brother. You ain't got to pay nothing. These niggas nowadays, these industry niggas, they not on none of that type of time, dog. They not on none of that type of time. You got to send them the shirts. They might not even take a picture in and shit. Don't get it twisted. It is something, but you got to give these niggas the clothes, and you got to like just hope that these niggas is going to take a picture in this shit. You got to just keep sending them clothes and shit. I got somebody who, may disagree. Shout out to Marcus, because, he got Waka Flocka wearing his stuff, and like, he probably got other people wearing his stuff too. So he actually knows how this shit breaks down. Check out, damn it, Makers Making Market. I'm pretty sure that's it. I call it Triple M. That's what he called it too, Triple M, but Makers Making Market. So check that out. It's a fire brand. It's national, and it's high quality. This ain't a sponsor vid. That's just a homie, and he really doing big things. And it's a lot of people in the with clothing brands. Some of them I'm not aware of, but yeah, we gonna keep it moving. So, at that time, it was building up. It was building up. You know, you'll see stuff in the source mags and stuff like that. You'll see stuff in double XL, you know, and all that. So when the game really shifted and it became like, oh, this is some like, as a matter of fact, I got to put this in there. When Fubu came out, Fubu really took shit by storm, and Fubu was hot shit. Fubu was hot shit. The rappers was really locked in with Fubu. LL did a Gap commercial and snuck in some bars about Fubu to help promote him and shit like that. Of course, it went under the white people radar because they wasn't hip. And I know if you like white and you like 14 or you like 20 something, like you, why do he keep saying white people? Why is it? Because hip hop, we had the Beastie Boys. Like, bruh, you got to understand, like back then, like white people were a part of the fan base for rap, but it wasn't like now where like the word thought come out and you could just go and Google what the word thought is. Like Chappelle had the skeet skeet shit. Like, I'm not gonna hold you, I'm black, and I didn't know what the fuck skeet was until Dave Chappelle exposed it to the world. So I know there were a lot of white people who weren't in our communities listening to that yin yangs, oh skeet skeet motherfucker, where they found out what skeet was the same time I did. And I'm not from Atlanta, I'm not from the South and stuff like that. Some people up here said they knew what skeet was, but at the time that shit was going, like, I ain't know what the fuck skeet was, and a lot of people I know didn't know skeet was. So like, you know, it was a different time. It was a different time. So it's like, you know, when he goes to work for Gap, they don't really fuck with rap like that. They still don't fuck with rap like, I mean, they tried to do the Ye shit. You know, Ye just be fucking shit up. But I'm so glad I remember him because he's gonna be good for this conversation. But yeah, so LL snuck that in there, and it was real slippery promotion for Fubu. Fubu was going crazy. It had the platinum Fubu and stuff like that. Da-da-da-da. So, you know, 2000, 2001 rolls around, that 99 to 2001 pocket. A few things happen, and I'm going to just break it down to two brands, Sean John and Rocawear. Those two brands come out, and they fuck up the game. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean they make millions, probably hundreds of millions of dollars. They go crazy. They go bonkers. They are reeling in the money. So the black clothing game, the urban clothing game, it gets so much bigger. There's a whole documentary on this, about this shit on Netflix and stuff like that. But you know, when that blows up, you start to get other brands that come out. You got to think about all the brands that we fuck with in the 2000s, because that's where we at now in this conversation. You know, you got the Red Monkey Jeans era with the Vizus and Gerbos and stuff like that. That's all marketed towards urban. You know, you got the, you know, we echoing all that shit from the 90s still popping, as far as Echo, Carl Canal, all that still going, still hot. You know, I think I mentioned Academics. I don't think I did. You know, before DJ Academics, there was Academics the brand. And it's funny because I got to see if Academics the brand and if Gucci the brand are taxing Gucci Mane and DJ Academics. That's kind of fun. Two guys named after clothing brands. But you know, what's another one, man? A bunch of Karmaloop like brands that you would see on Karmaloop right now. Whatever. Like I can't. It's some shit. Creative Rex came out. That was some shoe shit, but that's like more 2010. We'll get to that later. You know, Coogee was not like, you know, they was doing the sweaters and shit. They was an Australian brand. They wasn't even meant for niggas. But at some point in the mid to late 2000s, they had sold. And when they sold, you know, they started doing like urban shit. Like if you go and look at old pictures of, just type in Boosie Coogee. If you type in Boosie Coogee, you'll see what was going on back then. They had all types of polos with the 5 million stripes and stuff like that. It was what it was. So, you know, that's what was going on. Like all of that shit was going on. But check this out. When we get around that motherfucking and I'm gonna take you through a few trends real quick. You know, Tommy Hilfiger was that shit. And Tommy Hilfiger is a white designer, but niggas fuck with the Tommy Hilfiger back in the late 90s. The rumors came out that Tommy Hilfiger said some racist shit on Oprah, which Oprah had an episode in like the late 2000s or early 2010s or whatever, in the mid 2010s, that just debunked that whole 90s rumor. But the whole Pimp C Polo, fuck that Hilfiger line is basically geared towards like, fuck Hilfiger because he racist. That's what it was. But that's not the truth. Just to let you know, like, don't move through life thinking like Tommy Hilfiger racist. That's not the truth. You know, there's no proof or anything. He had a whole FBI investigation behind that shit because it really fucked up business for him, and he never did nothing to nobody as far as black people, and everybody got good shit to say about him. But, you know, that was some of the hottest shit in the street at that time. You could see Aaliyah and a bunch of other people in that shit. That shit fell off. After the whole racism allegations in the black community, Tommy Hilfiger fell off. Niggas stopped wearing Tommy Hilfiger. It stopped being trendy. Follow me. FUBU. I remember when FUBU was hot. Like it was like niggas wearing them jerseys and stuff like that. You see them in like the Three Strikes ass movies, all the black movies and shit. You get around 2000, 2002, somewhere in that pocket where they start doing the Fat Albert shit. They started doing the Fat Albert, like, you know, themed clothing. That's around the point where they fell off. And when I say fell off, it's not like they were doing anything bad. It's not like it was their fault. But this is the thing. It just got played out to black people. It got played out to hip hop. It got played out to niggas. So these were some of the first brands to like really be hot, really be trendy, really be that hot shit in my lifetime, and then just fall off when it come to niggas. Keep that in mind when we talk about Tommy Hilfiger. So we going on Sean John and all this shit is the hot shit. We get to, and this is black fashion. All of y'all know what it is, man. And some of y'all might not know what it is, and y'all might say, oh, this shit was going the whole time. You wasn't outside then. I don't know what to say. If you don't, the shit I'm about to say, if you don't understand the different impact it had around this time, you wasn't outside. We hit the polo era, dog. The Ralph Lauren polo era. What happened in the Ralph Lauren polo era? This era, because this is what happened. Jay-Z, we was wearing throwbacks and shit in the early 2000s. We talking about 01 to like 03-ish. Jay-Z dropped Change Clothes, and he was on a whole like, you know, take the jerseys off, put the button-ups on, and Kanye dropped. And Kanye was wearing a blazer, you know, with the jeans and shit. So fashion shifted at that time. I know I'm all over the place, but you got to follow me, dog. So fashion shifted. We got more of the button-ups and formal. And we was wearing like polos and stuff at the time, but they was real tall polos. And it didn't really matter what the polo was. So this is like, you know, and we was wearing button-ups mainly. It was like button-ups where the buttons go all the way down and shit with a bunch of stripes and shit. You know, and guess what? Sean John and Rockefeller or Rockaware, they conformed to that, and they was letting out a bunch of button-ups so you could get some fly shit for that. So we get past that, and when we get to this, like, you know, late 2010s era, like, well, not even late 2010s. We get to the, I want to say 08. You could probably even throw 07 in there, and this shit ran. When the Polo Boost came out, it got nasty, dog. It got nasty. But this is like like probably it's something like summer 07 at the earliest, but it's like 08 to about 2012, 2013. And even during this, like we had the whole eclipse with the whole Ed Hardy skulls and rock star wear wave, you know, all of that was going. So these things were going on parallel at the same time. So the Tommy Hilfiger, not Tommy Hilfiger, but Ralph Lauren Polo era, niggas was dressing like they was about to go golfing. And this is how you know. This is how you know. Like this actually validates what I'm about to say. Go look up some pictures of Young Dro. Young Dro was poloed out. Young Dro was poloed out. Like he definitely was like, he got the tuck in, he got the polo high socks, the tube socks with the polo logo on it, the polo boat shoes and all that shit. He was doing that. And he was doing that, I'm pretty sure, before it was even like trendy like that. But when the polo era hit, that's how niggas was hitting the club looking like they was about to go to a country club, except you put a fitted on that match everything that's going with it. So, you know, polo took over, and it's like at that point, when we hit the polo / Ed Hardy era, guess what happened? Those brands that was fucking shit up, Rocawear and Sean John, they faded out. Now they was the J.C. Penney, Burlington Coat Factory. They was shifting into that part of their existence. They was shifting into the J.C. Penney, Burlington Coat Factory part of their existence, where you're not paying full price for none of this shit. They gonna ship it to Burlington, and it's gonna have a tag on it to say, "Oh yeah, this is worth $60-something, but you can get it for 15." Like ridiculous price cut type shit. You see that shit to this day. You know what? You niggas go to Burlington. Stop playing. So, you know, with that, that's what was going on at that time. And remember, all these brands fell off. So now we going into the 2010s, like, and we like, you know, niggas is like polo boots and motherfucking, you know, the rock star shit, and you know, every summer bitches got a new trend. They wearing like the Beetlejuice stripes one year, and then like that shit goes away, and we talking about the 2010s now. And then they got the crosses on them, the leggings and shit like that one year, and like, you know, it's just every year it's a new trend. We got the snapbacks coming in and all this stuff. But I'm gonna tell you, if you notice, really think about this. If you notice, all those like commercial brands became Burlington. All them commercial black brands became Burlington brands. There was barely any like mainstream Negro fashion. When we talk about the early 2010s, all the way up to even now. You could call it urban, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to tell you where shit shifted as far as urban clothing. Urban clothing shifted to streetwear. That's what happened. So you get your Crooks and Castles, you get your Diamond Supply Co., you get your Pink Dolphin, all of that shit hot as fuck in the early 2010s. But this is the thing about it. And you could even throw BBC in there, because, yeah, like that might be some Pharrell shit or some shit Pharrell was fucking with. I forgot to mention Bape, but you know that Bape's still hot to this day. But that's something I may have to like just really ponder on, how Bape survived. I don't want to just start spitballing, because all of this stuff that I'm saying right now is stuff that I've been thinking for a long time, and I kicked everybody. I don't want to start freestyling on this. So, you know, as far as those streetwear brands, they coming out of places like LA and shit like that. All of those is probably based out of LA, all the shit I just named. And they really independent brands, and they really like low key. You gotta be into like certain cultures. Like if you're a skater, you automatically know about that shit. If you like a real fashion motherfucking at the time, like you buy a lot of SB Dunks and shit, you know about those types of brands and stuff like that. You really had to be tapped in. It hit a certain point where those became commercialized and they got mass distribution, but it wasn't always like that. You had to be aware of this shit. You had to know how to get it at one point. And it was expensive, just keeping it real. So that's what was going on as far as the urban fashion at that time. But and we talking 2010 to like 2015. Now I can't even tell you, like, because the streetwear brands, they be out there, but there's nothing to where it's like how Sean John was the shit. It's nothing like that. Like you look at it and it'd be like, okay, you got like Rock for Revival, like you got True Religion jeans or some shit like that. They made a comeback because they had faded out after the Red Monkey jeans era, and then they came back and shit, you know. But they've been around the whole time, but you know what I'm saying. So I can't really point to anything right now where it's like, oh, that's that shit and that's black owned, or oh, that's that shit and it's, you know, for the culture, is hip hop. Even if it's not black owned, it's still hip hop. It's still a part of the culture. I can't really do that. You got sites like Fashion Nova and shit that just be selling just shit that they design, and it's just like it's not really like one of those, like, it's not really a brand like all the brands that I mentioned. They just sell clothes. It's different. It's different. Like, you know, a brand is a brand. Like, if you just a storist, it's different. Like, so I could keep going. You know, I could probably even think of a few other trends. Like I already mentioned, the snapbacks. The fitteds went out and came back and shit like that. That should show you how fashion repeats itself, because during the snapback era, we had that, and then we went to the dad hat shit, and fitteds was completely out. I had got rid of all of my fitted collection because I just couldn't be out here looking outdated. And then the shit came back. I built my whole shit back up, man. It's kind of sad, you know. But with all of that being said, I want to go back to a few points that I made and a few staples that I put in. Remember I mentioned Tommy Hilfiger? And also, you know, the polo era is over. You can still throw on a polo, but I'm going to tell you why you can still throw on a polo and go anywhere versus throwing on Rocawear and, you know, being laughed at or having a nigga roast you or just being looked at as unfashionable or anything like that. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you a few reasons why. Look at Tommy Hilfiger. Look at Tommy Hilfiger, what I mentioned about Tommy Hilfiger. Tommy Hilfiger fell off to the community. Tommy Hilfiger fell off to black people. Tommy Hilfiger fell off to, you know, the urban community. It fell off to hip hop. Tommy Hilfiger is still here to this day. Tommy Hilfiger is still thriving. Why is Tommy Hilfiger still thriving? Because Tommy Hilfiger was not marketed exclusively towards niggas. There you have it. Tommy Hilfiger is a clothing brand that is marketed to motherfuckers who barely like give a fuck about style on a level that niggas give a fuck about it. Think about it real quick. Tommy Hilfiger and Polo, like, they are not like Gucci level brands or Louis Vuitton level brands where the entry point is a high entry point where you got to pay hundreds just to get anything from these motherfuckers. Not just hundreds off top. Even then, when you get to the highest tier of those brands that I named, you're looking to pay, like, you know, thousands of dollars. Thousands. Tommy Hilfiger has Purple Label. What does that mean? That means that's high-end shit. That means at the pinnacle of Tommy Hilfiger, you could probably pay thousands, just like the other brands. But guess what? You can go and get a polo from TJ Maxx on discount for like $30, 20, 30, 40, somewhere in that ballpark. And it's a $60 joint that's good quality. Like, that's just what it is. If you somebody that go to the golf course, if you're a white dad, or we don't even got to put a race on it. If you just a dad that's like from a generation where you just didn't fuck with hip hop, If you somebody who just listen to country music or what, you could get a polo for your nice, like, okay, I'm about to step out, you know. You could get a rugby, you could get all types of shit. And you could put it with some dress pants and you could look real good wherever you going. Same with Tommy Hilfiger, you could put those clothes on. They got a low entry point for everyday people. And before niggas caught on to it, everyday people was fucking with it. After niggas stopped fucking with it, everyday people was fucking with it. And you can really look at how they're marketed, how they're positioned, what their brand actually stands for and means. And that's what it is. Now you might ask, you know, why does that matter? Why does the color matter? Why does the hip hop community matter? Why does it matter that, you know, you mention those people and them not marketing to, you know, our market as far as hip hop? Why does that matter? What is hip hop? What is the foundation? What is the basis of hip hop? Coolness. It's fucking coolness. That's why people love it. We are the trend makers. We are the trendsetters. We make the culture. That's just what it is. So, you know what comes with being cool? Trends. What's in right now? The end season, all that shit. And guess what? Being that we are trendy, being that we are cool, you know, and this is like beyond rap. It's really ingrained in our community. Like, if you black and you've been to any inner city schools, or you just, you know, niggas will roast you for your shoes. Niggas will roast you for anything. But when it come to clothes, if you wearing the wrong shit, they really gonna let you have it. And then niggas get sensitive about their clothes. Like, you already know what it is, man. You tell a nigga, man, what the fuck you got up? Nigga, this $8,000. This a $8,000 fucking, you know, piece of shit that I got on, whatever. So you know how niggas is. We so trendy that, yeah, we might say like Tommy Hilfiger is out of style, but Tommy Hilfiger is not exclusively for us. So when we stop fucking with Tommy Hilfiger, it doesn't go nowhere. It stays for another trendy generation long after us to pick it up. But when we stop fucking with FUBU, for us, by us, when we stop fucking with FUBU, when we say FUBU's not cool, who do they have to fall back on? When we stop saying Rocawear is cool, who do they have to fall back on? When we stop saying Sean John is cool, or when we start saying Sean John is not cool no more, who do they have to fall back on? Fucking nobody. Fucking nobody. What they have to do is cut down their prices, motherfucking sell the shit to somebody else who likes shit. We just gonna throw this in motherfucking TJ Maxx. We gonna get this in all the discount stores. And we just gonna shit out designs. We don't give a fuck what we making. We don't give a fuck. We just gonna shit out designs. And then, like, when you go to a motherfucking bus station and you waiting to get on a bus somewhere, you're gonna see some crackhead in some motherfucking Rocawear polo or some shit that came from Burlington that somebody donated. That's not even from the 2000s. The shirt is from like 2012, and the person who even bought it would just bought it on some motherfucking, like, I just need some shit to wear around the house shit. That's what's keeping them alive. Fucking crackheads and niggas to wear shit around the house. Bus station crackheads, dog. And it's because we are so fickle with what we do. Now, I'm glad that I mentioned Kanye. Before I go to Kanye, I have to contrast this with Stephon Marbury and Starburys. What did Stephon Marbury do? Stephon Marbury made a very affordable shoe. And it was a very good shoe. It was kind of stylish. It looked stylish for everything that was out back then. It was a good hoop shoe. You could hoop in it. It was $15. This is back in the 2000s. This is like 03, 04 type shit. Matter of fact, no. It was like 05, 06, 07. and some shit like that. You know, somewhere in that bracket. Nigga, the store went out of business. The store at Steve & Barry's, they was selling that shit. They went out of business. I remember I was like, you know what? I've been roasting niggas with these Starberries, but I acknowledge I am a poor nigga. Let me go get these $15 hoop shoes. I drove out. Nigga, Steve & Barry's closed forever. Like, nigga, the shit hits the news like days later. But, you know, niggas, what was going on? Niggas like me was clowning the shoes the whole time. All of that shit. You know, guess what? Shaq made affordable shoes for like 1,000 years. Niggas get clowned for wearing Shaqs. That's just what niggas do. That's just what niggas do. That's just how we operate. So now you got Kanye coming in. Kanye is sitting on Sway, and he talking about, man, these niggas don't want to fuck with me. They don't want to support the vision as far as what I'm trying to do with this fashion shit. They trying to lock me out the industry. Sway is like, man, you know, I done did the shit. Why don't you do the shit like I did the shit? You don't got the answer, Sway. Granted, Kanye has said that Sway has the answers, but Sway didn't have the fucking answer. Because Kanye is saying that because he fell out with Adidas on some melancholy shit. But what Yeezy is, it couldn't have been without Adidas. Y'all gonna hate, y'all gonna say, man, he should have built it up by himself. It could have been that because he had the designs and he was doing the design. They had the distribution network. They had the marketing team. You see, he still don't got no shit up yet. They made him a billionaire, dog. That's what it is. It was a partnership. He made them a relevant, like he made them a relevant company when it came to urban shoes again, because they was out of the conversation, dog. They was out of the conversation. I was buying NMDs and shit like that, and that's just me. But most people who fuck with urban fashion was not putting together no fits with no Adidas or nothing like that. They had the T-Row pants. Everybody was wearing the T-Row pants with Jordans. Everybody was wearing the T-Row pants with Jordans. I still got T-Row pants that, man, I have not put on in years, man. But anyways, you know, so Kanye, he says you don't got the answers, man. He gets with Adidas, man. They go triple platinum. They go fuck triple platinum. They go quadruple diamond, nigga. They go crazy. They billions and billions and billions sold. I'm going to tell you why the Kanye shit panned out the way that it did. Kanye said that he wanted to make an affordable shoe. That was a lie. The shoes were never affordable during his whole tenure. He said he wanted to make it low cost. That was never the case. Now, you could put the blame on whoever, but that was never the case. They seen what was going on at Nike. They seen what the Jordan brand has been doing for years. Jordan had niggas lining up and killing each other for motherfucking sneakers for decades. And guess what he did? I'm going to tell you a few things he did. They made the price point high. We talking 200. Now, you might say, oh, 200 is not. Listen, man. Y'all niggas don't really be realizing that, like, when it comes to shoes, there are way more shoes than just Nike. There are way more brands than just Nike. And when you go to a place like fucking Dillard's or Kohl's, they got a shoe section full of fucking shoes. And if you really want to be honest, the average shoe is going to be anywhere from $40 to $70. That's the average shoe. Let's say you want to even get fly. Real talk. Most shoes from most brands, you're going to spend 70. We at 70 again. To 100, somewhere in the 150 ballpark. You know, and even then 150 for a pair of shoes has always been expensive. I don't care what you're talking about. It's always been expensive for a pair of shoes because again, $40 to $70 average, like that's the average. So when you get into all this $200 like fucking phone posit ass shit, $235, fam, Yeezy was having new releases on certain shoes for $300, bro. Like you raffling, you doing whatever you doing, you waking up, whatever. You getting on a confirmed app, it's $300. So with that, boom, we have a high price point. That when it comes to a high price point, look at the Starberries. A low price point to the black community, to niggas, is some shit to frown upon. It is some shit to roast. It is some shit to make fun of. It is some low status shit. We look at the shit as low status. But when you have a high price point, now you have an item. Now you have something that is more of a commodity. It's more a rare commodity. Everybody don't got these. And they high. Ooh, I can build a fit around this. Check the kick game. I'm a sneakerhead now. It hits all those boxes. So that's just boom. We value high price points. That's why the whole era that I forgot to mention is when we got into all this designer shit. When we got into all this Gucci and fucking wearing Balenciaga shoes and like fucking all of that shit. That's where we ended up. That's where the fashion as far as hip hop went. It just went to like, we just designered out 100%. We more designered out than any fucking generation in the past. All that Dapper Dan shit, that was just like New York and shit. They wasn't doing that shit in LA. They wasn't doing that shit in the South. No, niggas is Gucci down to the socks now. Niggas is going crazy with the fucking designer. But anyways, back to the Kanye shit. I don't want to get too sidetracked. So the first thing, high price point. The second thing is scarcity. They set up scarcity with these limited releases. They set up scarcity where the resale value is high as fuck. And now, like, that's where the real market is, fucking reselling this shit. You know, you got niggas getting bots and shit to buy all the shoes up. So when it comes to shoes is not a hard game to figure out if you got the resources. Adidas had all the resources for Yeezy. Kanye had the motherfucking mastermind to put the designs together to make and guess what? This is the other thing about it, man. It's because of who the fuck it was, because the shoes is fucking ugly for the most part. But because it's Kanye got that star power. Kanye is fashion to niggas. It just stamps it in a way that nothing else or nobody else could stamp it. Nobody else. Not no motherfucking T.I., not no motherfucking 50 Cent, not no Jay-Z, not no motherfucking Drake. Nobody could stamp it the way Kanye could stamp it. I might be tripping on Drake, but whatever. We know when it comes to fashion, like Kanye is that guy. So, with that being said, Kanye is a black fashion creator. You also got Fear of God. You know, that's some stuff that's more recent and just came out. But Kanye has cracked the code on how to make a brand that more than likely would have stood the test of time, would have lasted forever, would have been immortalized just like the Jordan brand. And he's not even an athlete. So what is that code? That code is fucking three things. Get with a bigger company that has all the resources. Create a high price point. Have scarcity. If the designs are fucking good, if they are solid, you straight. And if you got something that can fucking propel the hype of them, then you good too. Because let's keep it real. Like Virgil Well, nah, he was using Nike and stuff like that with the Off-White. I can't even lie. Can't even lie. But Virgil is a great designer, though, still. Rest in peace to Virgil. You know. But that's really, I think that really wraps it up. You know, I missed the whole designer era as far as, you know, people wearing like all the Gucci, and that's where we ended up landing. And it's like more people feel like the richer the outfit, the higher the cost of the outfit, the better it is, and the more exclusive it is, and all that shit. Niggas bragging about how much money they spend at Saks to look like a fucking butler, but you know, whatever. So that's basically it in a nutshell. And the point of all of this, and I may touch on this, I may touch on one point later in another video. But the point of this is, you know, yes, in some ways, you know, the black designer has elevated because, again, I mentioned Fear of God, Virgil, Kanye, you know, we've elevated to a different position. But when we talk about just hot clothing brands and stuff like that, like how it used to be as far as a mainstream affordable clothing brand, that's why we don't have one, because we are trendy. We roast each other for how the clothes look and stuff like that, and what we wearing, and things go out of style, and we just drop them. And the clothing brands like Ralph Lauren and Hilfiger, they stick around because we're not the foundation of those brands. But when it comes to the brands that we're the foundations of, we crumble the brands that are made for us. We crumble them. Now, the thing that I said I may touch on in another video another day is just the conditioning. Now, this goes beyond hip hop. The conditioning within the black community when it comes to fashion, as far as why people like me used to roast what type of shoes niggas have on, niggas having on whack brands, you know, feeling like you got to wear certain shit to be accepted, just not even just by babes, but just by other men or other boys. And then if you don't fit in, we go out of our way to make sure you feel bad about how your parents sent you to school, how you came to work, how you look at the job, how you look whenever you step out the house. You know, that's going to be another topic for another day. But that's, you know, the history of Negro fashion with Mello for today, man. I am out.